We bought a boat. Feast your eyes on this 1974 Boston Whaler Sakonnet. Yes, that's right. We bought this 1974 Boston Whaler Sakonnet and we plan to restore it. Have I ever done this before? No, but I think it could be fun. I mean, how hard could it be? How hard could it be? In this video, I'm going to walk through why we decided to buy this boat, the odd history of the Boston Whaler Sakonnet, as well as kind of do a walkthrough of its current state, as well as our restoration plans. So follow along for the journey. So here I am at the helm of this classic 1974 Boston Whaler Sakonnet, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the history of this model. It was produced from 1961 to 1975, and it was part of the broader 16-foot, 7-inch classic whaler family at that time. So you also have the Nauset, which was considered the base level 17-foot classic whaler. Then it went to the Eastport, and then the Sakonnet on top of that, which was considered the luxurious model. The biggest difference between the Sakonnet and the other models were the reversible pilot seat, the forward bow rails, as well as a fishing platform that went on the bow. The Sakonnet outlasted the Eastport and Nauset models by 2 years, so those were both discontinued in 1973, and the Sakonnet went on to 1975. The only real differentiator you'll see with Sakonnets listed for sale nowadays versus the Nausets or the Eastport is the forward fishing platform. But a lot of the boats these days don't come with those anymore. After the Nauset, Eastport, and Sakonnet models went away, the 17-foot platform lived on through the Montauk model, which is very popular and still made till this day. One thing I forgot to mention about the odd history of the Sakonnet compared to the other models is apparently when you order these, you can mix and match the features of the boat. So you could technically have a Nauset with a reversible pilot seat, bow rails, things like that. So just by looking at these boats, you may not really know what model is which because of the mix and match, and also through the years people may have either taken out the original seat or bow rails and things like that, or added things on later on. So why did we buy this boat? I'll make a separate video in the future about the 17-foot classic platform, but our family needed a get in and go boat. You know, we have 2 little girls. Our time is very precious on the weekends. We didn't want to have a boat that took a lot of time to get set up, clean, wash. We wanted something that was relatively low maintenance for a boat, preferably trailerable as well. I don't know a ton of history of this particular boat. I got it on Facebook Marketplace. In the Chicagoland area, there aren't too many Boston Whalers for sale, but this lived on a small lake in northern Illinois. The individual who I bought it from owned it for approximately 5 or 6 years, and prior to that, their family friend owned it since 1998. This boat has definitely been used. I do think they had a cover for the center console as well as the pilot seat because the wood seems to be in relatively good condition compared to the rest of the boat. I think it was used a little bit for a small sailing school, for potentially the races or practices and things. My dad actually has a 1970 Nauset, so I'm very familiar with this platform and how our family functions on it. Our plan for this boat is just to have it be, use it for a day or a half day, picnic boat, day boat, bay cruiser, however you want to call it. Something that we can just kind of dip in the water, use it for a few hours or a full day, and then leave with minimal work. Like I said, I also like that it's trailerable. It gives you different options on how you want to store it. Obviously, you can have it in the water, on a dry stack, or on a trailer within a marina yard, or you could even slip it into a storage unit. Also, the trailer allows us to explore different lakes. So we don't really know where our home port or home base is going to be. There's quite a few lakes in northern Illinois and southeastern Wisconsin that are fairly close. So if we even just put it in a storage unit up there and trail it around to different lakes for a season to see which one we like and maybe settle on a marina that way. So, it's a manageable size to tow. You don't need a giant truck. It only has 1 axle, which is nice, a lot less to go wrong, things like that. And obviously I can move it on the trailer as just a single individual. So all in all, it's I think a good first step for anyone getting involved in boating. Okay, well, let's finally take a look at this puppy. Here's the trailer. It's in decent shape. It's apparently from 2001. I need to check the day codes on these tires. They look pretty dry. I don't think they'll be too expensive to replace. There is a decent looking spare there. Bearings look okay, but you never know. I may repack those or put in more grease or something. The guide post is missing here. I'm probably going to need to cut it off. I already have some new ones ordered, which I'll address in a different video. Tail lights, yeah, those aren't going to work. But the bunks are good. It did survive an hour-long drive from where I bought it from to my garage. So trailer is in decent shape. Do have a 90 horsepower Honda 4-stroke, super reliable. My dad actually has I think it's a 60 horsepower in his null set, so I think I will be winning all the races. I believe this is a 2006. Hopefully that's what that sticker means, but I'll look into that more closely. Again, just holes on holes in the tail lights and wiring, and everything is going to be rewired. I already got a new tail light kit installed. This is probably my biggest concern right here. There is, I guess this would be considered delamination. It's not soft though, so I wonder if this was filled with epoxy at some point. It's as hard as a rock. So, Chicago Marine sticker. I mean, it's got its issues. It's not 100% perfect. And then there's also a little bit of the same issue over here. Again, not soft though. Not soft. So I'm gonna go on the forums and Facebook group and see what other people recommend for an approach of fixing this. Again, the corners. Gonna take the rub rail off. It's extremely dry and hard. But in terms of the transom delamination, like where the motor mounts, none at all, which is great. Good to see. Even came with a couple of spiders. Obviously, you have crazy all throughout. But I'll get inside here in a second. But trailer-wise, it is a caravan trailer. I mean, it's a pretty decent platform. In terms of the hull, there's some unique features of it that I don't think are factory, like that. There's some patchwork done here, a little bit of discoloration here. Obviously, this is going to get all sanded down. It looks like there was a whole cover at one point. There's snaps all the way under the bow rail. I do not have a full cover. I do have one, I think, for the center console, but it's been pretty destroyed, so I'm just going to replace that. But anyway, yeah, I will flip this over on its or upside down and address the hull. But I mean, everything is looking pretty decent. What do you expect? It's a 1974 Boston Whaler that people are just, I think, starting to really appreciate more now than ever. So, when in the 80s and 90s, people didn't take care of these things. Like I mentioned, bow rail is basically plastic at this point. Decent amount of scuff in the front, per usual, what you would expect. Mismatch on how the bow navigation lights are, attached to the hull. But the biggest concern I have, well, besides the transom, is this piece here, this chunk. It is, so it is fiberglass. It hasn't, necessarily exposed the foam. So obviously you're just going to grind all this down and, put glass on it, fairing, paint the bottom, things like that. But before I approach any of that work, I definitely will seek advice of the people that have journeyed this journey before me. But I mean, it's not that big. It's like roughly, I mean, it's smaller than the size of my hand. But, I mean, other than that, the bottom is looking pretty good. Just the parts that get exposed to any type of trailering, docking, beaching, things like that. Again, just I think like getting new components. I mean, this trailer is 25 years old at this point. Like new rubber for just things that are supposed to be soft or not. Again, rewiring. This side, some putty people put on. I don't know, maybe these are original. I'll have to look. I'm not going to pretend to know everything, but there's one on each side in the same spot. I don't know, maybe not. This looks wider than the other one. But yeah, you know, not horrible on the bow. I've definitely seen worse online. Here is the wheel well that needs to be replaced. Again, the tires just seem a little dry. Even the spares, even though they have tread, they just seem like they just been around for a while. You know, it's a little cracking, you know, just some rubbing. It just needs a little bit of TLC. Okay, let's look our way on the top side. Nav lights do not work. They look a little old and corroded. They're mismatched on the posts. This is the crazing I'm working with here. Way too much to Dremel out. So I will be getting like a grinding sander, because a palm sander like that you get at Home Depot or whatever from looking online is just going to take way too much work. You need something with a little more firepower. So obviously just going to probably just grind all this down to glass all along the edge. And there is a little bit of separation of the bow rail there. Let's hop inside. So up here in the boat now, this is in bad shape. Definitely going to just replace that. Some interesting work done around here. Obviously, just going to replace all this, sand it down. Inside itself, looks like there's some type of hardener that was used to, I don't know, fix a crack or something like that. But obviously going to address all this. I think my goal is for this to be a 10-footer. Looks great from 10 feet. Get up close and you can spot a couple of imperfections. The way they got this cooler mounted is interesting. So I'm going to remove all that. I do want the forward bench seat that comes out from the center console. Again, the Nosset my dad has down in Florida has that, which we really love, and get the cushions for it. I'm not quite sure if like these little cleats are original. I am probably going to just take them off and fill every hole, and even potentially even for the bimini. So it did come with the bimini. It's not currently on, but I may just fill it, every hole and just start fresh, to be honest with you. The bow is pretty loose and shaky. I mean, I have not touched this thing, and this is how it came with the screw up. Especially some wobble in the front, but I think, you know, metal wise it's in decent shape. I'm gonna try to keep as much as I can. Probably have to replace the navigation light, refinish this, obviously. The center console's in decent shape. I mean, just a little, you know, work that needs to be done on the top. I may try to either just sell it or get rid of it, because there's just a lot of randomness going on, you know. Later on, the trim gauge was installed. I don't even know what any of these do. The wiring down here is a mess. This was added on at some point. So because of all of this, I think I would just like to start fresh and new. Also, not a fan of the you got the gear and you got the throttle. Not a fan of that. So definitely want to get to like a single lever system. Keeping the compass for sure. Can't get rid of that. But I mean, all in all, kind of is what it is. That's what's great about these boats is, it's not like something with like a cuddy cabin or anything, where there's a lot of hidden issues and cushions, and you're not messing with any type of freshwater system in terms of like a sink and toilet, and the motors to an outboard that can literally just pop on, pop off. They're simple technology compared to more advanced boats. So that's another reason why we're going with something like this type of setup. Going on to kind of near the stern. Funny enough, this is actually pretty solid compared to the bow, but every single one of these T adapters or whatever you want to call it, T fittings are cracked, every single one. But luckily, Specialty Marine they sell these. But yeah, it's pretty good. I think I'm just going to save all these, maybe refinish them. Capacity information is basically non-readable anymore. Again, just taking stuff like this off, going to fill the holes. I'm going to repaint the whole inside anyway, so, doesn't really matter. Looks like, potentially the original pilot seat was here at some point. You can see some work was being done. Here's the rear bench, again, getting rid of it. Getting rid of all these chocks that keep it in place and filling the holes. Fuel line up and over the seat is a nice touch. Definitely a utilitarian setup. Here's the stern. I'm sure that's where the stern light went. Battery. Again, just going to take everything off and start fresh and new. So this is our 1974 Boston Whaler Sakonnet. As you can see, there's a decent amount of work to do. I think in terms of the restoration plan, it's going to be relatively moderate. I don't think I'm capable of opening up the floor and changing out the foam and things like that. So it will be fairly cosmetic, filling some holes, replacing some unworn parts, things like that. In terms of seating, as I mentioned, I am going to cheat a little bit. I'm probably going to get everything from Specialty Marine rather than adding on or refurbishing what I currently have, because of the fact that I do want to patch. I would have to patch some of the holes, and I want to reconfigure the center console layout and things. I also want to get a depth finder / chart plotter, just so I know where I've been on certain lakes and things. Maybe add a USB charger, because it is 2026 after all. Courtesy lights, maybe. The more I think about it, the more I think that's kind of a maybe after the fact thing that I could add on later. Also, I want to get the trailer road ready. The tires may need to be replaced. I need to check the date codes on them. Looks like they might be leaking a little air. I want to also look at the bearings, but especially I need to get the taillights fixed so people know when I'm braking or turning. That's number one priority. Need to get it titled and things like that. And then there's a wheel well on the other side that is completely cracked and broken. I may just replace both wheel wells. This is a relatively inexpensive trailer to get parts for. I think I can get new wheel wells for $40 a piece, so less than $100. I can get this thing looking relatively brand new. I will make a separate video on everything I plan to address in terms of the to-do list, but I wanted to make these videos because I think it'd be fun to follow along for the journey, and if I ever sell this boat, there's something for a potential buyer to look back on and see all the work I did. I've never done this before, so I think that'd be a really good perspective of following along, that anyone can do this. Hopefully it's not that hard. We'll see. I'm sure I'll have my moments. I do have history of varnishing and bottom painting our family boat growing up, but nothing to this extent. I am going to be as detailed as possible in this process because I think when already watching a lot of videos, there's people that skip over certain steps because they either forgot to film something or they think it's not important or boring. I'm going to try my best to really go into extreme detail on everything I did, and I'm going to keep a list of a to-do list and a shopping list of every single thing I bought down to the sanding pads and PPE stuff and all that. So everyone can see exactly the process I followed, what I bought for my particular boat. Because even though there's a ton of Boston Whaler restoration videos out there, every boat is unique and different. It has its own little unique and different challenges. So I think the more information we can get out there, the better for the collective group. So this is the boat. I will be radio silent for a couple of months as I stack up work and make videos, because I think it'd be better for everyone to kind of on a weekly basis see progress versus weeks at a time. I am coming up against some weather. This is August in northern Illinois, so we have maybe a couple more months of predictable good weather that I can get things done. I'm probably going to save a lot of the fairing, gel coat, fiberglass repair work for the spring. Anyway, it's like super humid right now. I know a lot of those chemicals are sensitive to certain humid environments. So yeah, definitely looking forward to it. Definitely looking forward to hearing from other folks that have done this before. If you see me on the Boston Whaler Facebook group or forums, say hello. I'm definitely going to be on there posting on how people would approach certain issues or what they use, their best practices and things like that. So will this be fun? Yes. Will I be frustrated a lot of the times? 100%. But will it be worth it? Totally. I can't wait for you all to see what the final product is. Oh, and remember, like and subscribe. I've always wanted to say that.